Now, for the next 30 minutes, we would be talking about the manufacturing renaissance in India. Haven't we used the word by manufacturing stock? Now, everything you manufacture, everything you make is actually manufacturing. From this cup to this mobile phone, the pencil I have in my hand, the laptop. So then what is manufacturing and why is everybody getting excited about manufacturing? What has changed for manufacturing after COVID? Well, the Prime Minister came out with a very simple vision. Made in India for the world. And extension of that was Atmanirbhar Bharat. Post that, changes were made. Big changes were made, which in a sense have been transformational in nature. From PLI schemes to better laws, from China and Europe plus one to big supply chains which have got retested, from making India not only self-sufficient but also getting it ready for exports. A lot has changed. What has changed? India plus one, Skill India, PLI schemes, ease of doing business. And now the global manufacturing center seems to be moving from China to India. China was known as the factory of the world. Well, guess what? That factory is still there, but the overtime is no longer applicable in China. A lot of shifts have actually, a lot of transformational changes have happened to India. And one company which is benefiting because of this China plus one strategy, I think, is Waaree. Hitesh Doshi, Chairman and Managing Director of Waaree Group, joins us now. Well, he's been very generous with his time. He's been coming on the channel, and I think where he's sitting and you can see behind him are a lot of solar modules which he makes and which he exports to China. Hitesh bhai, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, namaskar.
Why has manufacturing sector in India, why it is getting re-rated? Can you walk us through your experience that what has changed for solar rooftop manufacturers and why suddenly the demand is coming back from US and from India?
I think, first of all, thank you for inviting me and giving this opportunity. In my opinion, the first change happened is from the top. Our Honorable Prime Minister, the mission he started as Make in India. So manufacturing for us, it was for many years, was like just buying from the outside. And it was not focused to make in India. And this government has bought it that it has to be made in India. And it has came like you have well captured the various ways. Apart from this, I think the biggest change was the mindset that we need to make it in India. The second thing is I am seeing also the competition between the states to bring the manufacturing units in that states. So that is pushing overall the Indian manufacturing. On solar, the various policies which government has set, like ALMM, this is an approved list of the module manufacturer with a clear message. If you want to sell the solar panels in India, you have to make in India. The second thing about the DCR content requirement, this means that domestically, wherever you need subsidies by the government, like a large rooftop program now announced, or the KUSUM or various CPSUs buying, it is very clear message that the cells and modules must be made in. So this has pushed and a lot of interest came in the country, and we are seeing from modest capacity of the country today on the government certified, that is called ALMM certified module manufacturing capacity, has crossed a 38 gigawatt of production capacity in India, and this is the result of that.
Mr. Doshi, amidst this entire manufacturing renaissance, as it's being called, what do you think could be India's USP? Because the competing countries also have low-cost labor and much larger manufacturing operations.
India has a lot of advantages. Of course, first of all, I will say is that whatever the transparency in a today's world of traceability India is able to provide, very few countries are able to provide. The second is the scale. Outside China today, India became a largest solar panel manufacturer as well as a largest exporter also. So the scale, transparency. The third comes about the quality and the technology. which customer always looks for. And today the country is able to provide IP rights very well to the technologies, and that is attracting a lot of new technologies in the country. And when it comes to the quality, of course, this export has been constantly proving what the Indian companies are able to offer.
Okay. Your business has two parts, a local and a global. Globally, you've done exceedingly well because US has started importing solar panels from India. But in the domestic market, the terrain is very different. Competition is intense. The policy regime is not that clear. And despite government push coming towards solar, we are not seeing too many Indian companies do very well in the domestic space. Why is that?
Government has allowed the import till the 31st March. So ALMM order, which is called to be excellent, where the Indian-made modules are required for the Indian project. And this has been extended till 31st March. That is for next 2 weeks, it is ending out. And this opportunity has been taken very well by the Chinese manufacturers. So the huge dumping has been happened during these financial years from China and India.
Okay.
Prices and all that. So that is the reason the domestic manufacturing or domestic market was not that big. However, when it comes to the future projects and the order booking, the developers are placing the orders because they know that next year, that is 2 weeks later, they will need a modules made in India. And that we are seeing the order book is growing for the manufacturers.
So, what is, with the fact that we're seeing this increasing manufacturing in the country, what kind of export opportunities as well are you seeing?
Globally, we see that at least the 20% of the demand has moved. To give you numbers, if this year we are expecting a 500, 550 gigawatt, the global solar installations, we see at least 20% demand. It is required due to the geopolitical issues, forced labor issues, restricted region issues, and various ESG norms. So that opportunity is very big, 100 and 110 gigawatt of the export opportunities across the globe outside China, or I will call Southeast Asian countries. And this will continue to grow.
There's a news report, I'm going to change gears. I think it came on Friday that Waaree IPO will hit the market in April. Right, wrong?
We are waiting for the approvals. So once we have the approvals, we'll make the schedules.
Are you close to getting any date, any timeline which you can share with us?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay. So coming back to the domestic market, post 31st of March, the import restrictions will start kicking in. And that's the time where the domestic demand, what the PM has talked about to give subsidy to 1 crore solar rooftops, would also start kicking in. How large is that for you? Are you competitive in that space? And if you have to take a pie of the domestic market, how will you reinvent Waaree?
First of all, we are in the domestic market for 15 years and have a sizable pie in the domestic market. What we are seeing the change here with this is, number one, for the rooftop, we'll need a made in India solar cells. So we need to push more and more capacities for the production for the made in India, and that work is going on at Waaree. Number two is the demand versus the capacity available. Till today, we have reached to the 12 gigawatt of the manufacturing capacity, and we have planned to cross over 19.5 gigawatt manufacturing capacity in India. So Waaree is so far it's ready with the capacity and also further expanding to take to the next level of the manufacturing capacity.
But if you have
To the competitiveness or all that, company has been in a competitive market for 15 years, constantly competing national and international competitors. and will continue to do so.
You have to, let's say, share a big picture view for us and for the solar manufacturing sector and for Waaree. Can we say that a growth of 20 to 30% for next 3 to 5 years looks like a strong probability, not possibility? I mean, 25 to 30% growth is real and it will happen, irrespective.
I mean, it is a conservative number in my opinion, because in the past, without hydrogen, without EV batteries charging, the solar has grown over a 35% year on year globally. Now, the more demand kicking off, and with more and more favorable policies are coming up, I think the opportunities are much better than the past performance.
Number for next 3 years and next 5 years. Can you just give us a broad number?
I'm saying that it will be definitely more than 35% year on year growth.
So will
And
it
not
be
3-4 years. If our goal is to reach a net zero by 2047, so this I think road is quite longer, and runway and speed both will be the favorable in that terms.
If I summarize our today's interaction, and it's we are getting Thermax right after this, and then we got CEAT, and then after that we move into Century. We are trying to ask the manufacturing sector per se that next 3 to 5 years they look strong, and for your sector you see that 35% plus growth for next 3 to 5 years is a strong possibility. Can I summarize the interaction with that line?
Yeah, I agree with you. The growth will be definitely there, number one. Number two is the government focus on the manufacturing and policies around that. The manufacturing will also be, I think, favorable for the companies like us in the coming days.
Okay, Mr. Doshi, great having you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your thoughts with us. We also have Ashish Bhandari, the MD and CEO at the Thermax Group, joining in next. Ashish, hi, morning. I don't know if you were able to catch our interaction with Mr. Hitesh Doshi from the Waaree Group, but wanted to understand, given that we are at the perhaps brink of the manufacturing renaissance here in India, tell me, what role do you see the Thermax Group playing in the next 3 to 5 years?
Good morning, Aisha, Nikunj, everybody else on the call. Thank you very much. And I did catch a little bit of the end of the discussion with Waaree. It was quite interesting. And I loved his comments as well. For Thermax, because we are a company that has been part of India's energy spectrum for more than 50 years, as we look at the future, we see our role very clearly as one that balances energy availability with energy sustainability. So energy transition related technologies, not just green, but how do you make the existing carbon footprint greener, more efficient, better? How do you do more waste to energy related projects, biomass, renewables? How do you make coal cleaner? All of these solutions are part of what Thermax looks at for the future.
Very basic question, Ashish. Everybody is excited after COVID, whether it is push towards manufacturing Atmanirbhar or China Plus One. For Thermax, what has changed? And do you think the excitement in the markets, excitement by our shareholders, and in general the excitement in the industry, is that a real deal?
I think we've been asking that question now for a couple of years. It was first the recovery from COVID. Now, is it real? The last month and a half, I've been as part of a Thermax reinvention kind of journey. We've been traveling to multiple cities in India. So in the last month alone, I've been to Chandigarh, to Ahmedabad, to Kolkata, to Hyderabad, Lucknow, and almost every place that I've gone to where I meet CEOs, where I meet customers, everyone looks positive. Yeah, there is some because of the elections, maybe a quarter or so of decisions that people are looking, do I wait, do I not wait? But almost every customer, every segment that I speak with, they're bullish about their future, they're looking to invest. And that is a sense of optimism that I haven't seen for a very, very long time.
How much
So
of
it's real.
How much of the excitement is coming from businesses where you're gaining because China is losing?
Tough to say directly. Yeah, anecdotally, when you ask people, you get some instances like textiles. Very clearly, you can hear that across the board. Some amount of chemicals and pharmaceuticals, you can hear that. Um, so anecdotally here and there, but I would say for almost everybody that I speak with, including people that are looking to add capacities in India, the domestic consumption story is a big part and perhaps a bigger part of the dialogue.
Okay, energy transition, something which everybody is excited about. Waaree is excited about what's happening in solar. You're excited about new energy. How much of the energy transition, new age business is going to be the needle moving business for Thermax in the next 3 to 5 years?
A significant portion. It already is, and going forward, I would imagine by 2030, almost 2/3 of Thermax would be growing businesses that are very, very small today as part of the larger Thermax portfolio. So we expect to drive almost every one of these newer areas that we are getting into. And they're not necessarily there are solutions around even cooling. Yeah, how do you do industrial cooling in a very energy efficient way? They're not necessarily hydrogen or solar based. There are a variety of new ideas and capabilities that the market is ready for, and these will drive the growth for Thermax going forward.
So can I say the manufacturing, at least the area which you represent, it is at the cusp of a multi-year growth, and it is like saying, somebody identified IT or TMT sector in 1995 and 1996, and before it got topped out, it actually enjoyed 5, 6, 7 years of a mega bull run. Do you see that kind of an excitement in the business and the sector and the areas which you represent?
I guess it's a relative point on how much growth to expect. Do I expect a multi-year strong momentum based on India demand and also in many cases international demand as well, based on differentiated capabilities we have in India? Absolutely, yes. I think every sector that we look at, and the biggest statistic that is getting quoted around a lot is that India has to build 3 new Indias in the next 25 years. What we have done in the last 75 years, we need to build 3 of those Indias in the next 25 years, which means the demand for everything, not only steel, cement, how do you make water cleaner, how do you recycle more water, desalination, how do we make our air cleaner, almost every part of the puzzle, newer things would be required, new technology, more demand, more capabilities. And these are the spaces that Thermax plays in.
Absolutely. And a lot of questions coming in from there, really, Ashish. What's the energy of the future? Because you said that a lot of models and, energy sources are being tested around right now. And then B, I mean, your current order balance is about 10,000 crore rupees. In the next 5 years, what could be this figure? I'm guessing you are already penciling in a manifold growth.
So we have not actually put in a specific number on size over the next 5 years. We have done extensive work on what this period will look like, but our focus is on what capabilities we want to develop by which portion and how these markets will unfold, how the larger growth will come about. We will see, but the capabilities is something that we can focus on developing, and what money we need to be able to focus on these capabilities and build them out, and making sure that we have access to funds, we have investment capability in that. That is our focus. In terms of how big the backlog will be, what would the size of the business be, is almost a secondary discussion. I would actually want to talk about the first part of what you talked about, which is what will that energy basket look like in the future. And there, especially if we take the next 5 to 7 years, there is still quite a bit of uncertainty. First, there is uncertainty around coal. What will the future of coal be? And as we look right now, India is going through a phase where we will be investing in coal, which wasn't something I would have said a couple of years ago also. There's a big set of investments that are coming in coal, most of these in large supercritical power plants driven by PSUs and related large companies. There is also demand across the board for clean coal related technologies, including coal gasification and FGDs and variety of related technologies. The one which is not that clear is how carbon capture will come about and whether carbon capture will have a big role in India or not. The other big question is role of hydrogen going forward. And how big can hydrogen grow? We are all making investments, but the cost of hydrogen coming down is a very big open question, along with some of the policy decisions that are needed to drive hydrogen to scale. One more that I can refer to is just this push on biofuels in every sector that we look at, whether it's bio-CNG, bioethanol, bio-related aviation fuels and the like. The whole space has got a lot of new technology, but again needs policy support and variety of other interventions. So the theme is policy, what will it do? How will green financing come into play? What role will it take? What technology decisions pan out or not pan out? So overall, a very, very exciting period as we look at, one that comes with some amount of risk as well.
All right, let me also welcome on board to the discussion. We have with us Mr. Kumar Subbiah, the CFO at CEAT, and we've also got Mr. Keshav Bhajanka, Executive Director at Century Plyboards, joining in. Good to have you both on board. Mr. Subbiah, I just want to start off with this overall potential for India. We've got transparency, scalability, quality, and tech when it comes to really capitalizing on manufacturing. How are you looking at the overall picture when it comes to the India manufacturing story versus some of the other countries?
India is a good place for manufacturing and exporting tires. So particularly in auto ancillary space, we see a huge opportunity for India. And therefore, from our standpoint, our growth rates that we have assumed for the next 3 to 5 years is certainly higher than our growth rates assumption for our local sale, both to original equipment manufacturers and the replacement. In the tire space, India is in a good position because most of the raw material that go into the manufacture of tires is available locally in India. And we can compete well with China, as China doesn't have a natural rubber local sourcing opportunity, and therefore we would be able to compete well with them. And on quality side as well, India has a good perception. So therefore, matching both quality as well as, in terms of our ability to manufacture tires at a competitive price. So India is really in a good position to take advantage of the global supply demand situation.
Ashish, I'll get closing comments from you, which is that let's use the GDP as a benchmark here. The GDP is expected to grow in the region of about 7 to 8%. I add back inflation, that makes it a nominal GDP of about 12 to 13%. If I look at fine companies like Thermax, they will gain 2 or 3% more than the GDP. So can I say 15 to 18% growth for Thermax, like a big picture growth for Thermax for next 3 to 5 years is given?
I don't know if it's given, but that is definitely the number to aspire for and to do better. Yeah, I don't think anything's given. A lot of it depends on many, many things that will unfold. But as an aspiration and to aspire to meet those and to do better than those, I think that's a fair ask.
So I'll not be fair away from the mark when I say that next 3 to 5 years for Thermax and for the sector which you represent, अच्छे दिन नहीं, बहुत अच्छे दिन है.
I will rely on your judgment again and again. I would say where I come from is at least a focus on capabilities, which is perhaps easily the most exciting time in the last couple of decades, on the kinds of newer things that we can bring to the market and an appreciation and a demand for those kinds of things. I think if the larger economy continues to do well, the rest of the growth will also come through. Yeah.
All right, Ashish, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Subbiah, I go back to a very basic question in the tire sector. The tire sector has had two issues. A, margins are not in line with what the other manufacturing companies enjoy. There is deep cyclicality because of rubber and because of what's happened to crude prices. And second problem has been cheap dumping from China, at least in the CV space. How do you think both these concerns will be addressed in coming years for the tire sector?
I do agree. Raw material is anywhere between 60 and 70% of our turnover. So, and therefore it has some impact on our margins. In general, what happens when the raw material prices move up very quickly? Okay, there is always a lag. So therefore, it takes anywhere between 3 and 6 months for us to pass on the incidence of any increase in raw material cost to our customers in the form of a price increase. And we also tend to wait for a period of time before, just to understand whether any movement in raw material prices is permanent in nature or short-term in nature. So therefore, in the previous 2 years, when the raw material prices moved up by 50%, so it took a while for us to pass it on to our customers in the form of pricing. Some part of it we passed on, some part of it, when the market corrected, we were able to get back to our earlier levels of margins. So therefore, there is some element of influence that the commodity prices have on margins, particularly when the movements of raw material prices are steep within a short period of time. Coming back to your second question, okay. As far as India is concerned, tire industry is concerned, it is competitive, okay, on a global scale, and scale plays a very important role. So we would certainly be able to, even despite not so optimistic global macroeconomic situations, India would be in a good position to take advantage of it, considering the base is small. So therefore, we are in a good position to grow disproportionately in the international market compared to the local market.
Right. Mr. Subbiah, we're looking at the EV policy come closer now, and we're looking at some of the large global players perhaps entering India as well. Just as an industry, be it EV or ICE engine vehicles, tires would always be used. What is the scalability for the industry per se? What are we staring at in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, no, I think I missed responding to a previous question on commercial tires. So as far as the commercial tires go, the import from China has been limited. Okay, the government had in the past introduced some anti-dumping on imports, and that helped in terms of bringing a level playing field for the Indian market. Okay, so there has not been major dumping, but there has been some amount of regular arrival of imported or commercial tires from either from Southeast Asian market or from Chinese region. It is predominantly because of fact that we are in an inverted duty structure regime, whereby tires come at 5-6% kind of a duty, and whereas raw material suffers higher rate of duty, anywhere between 15 and 25%. Of late, we have not seen too much of imports from China, but however, it is we need some help in terms of bringing some level playing field from the government side, so that either we get to import the materials at a lower rate of duty, or the tires come at comparable rate of duty. The second question you're on EV. See, we can use our existing equipment to produce tires that are fitted into EV vehicles. However, there are differences between the tires that go into ICE vehicles compared to EV vehicles. So recipes are different. Okay, and basically the raw materials that go into the recipe in case of EV different, because we have to meet the rolling resistance related requirements, noise related requirements. So our plant and equipment that we have in all our machines can take care of the requirements. However, any change in recipe has some impact with respect to upstream capacity. So therefore, little bit of planning is required. However, we don't see significant impact of any significant increase in EV tires with respect to our capacity. We have created enough flexibility to produce tires should the EV volumes go up steeply.
Appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. So we are moving really sectors. The theme is manufacturing, from solar energy to capital goods, tire, and now plywood. Keshav Bhajanka joins us now, Executive Director with Century Plyboards. Keshav, must say I always like your ads on ET now. Very innovative. The last one was Manish Malhotra, right? Nothing's come after that, has it?
I think, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show. I think the Pratik Gandhi one perhaps
That was
the last
before.
one.
That was before the Manish Malhotra, right?
So we're going to be thrilling you with something new soon.
Well, I look forward to that, at least on ET Now and all the other forums. Okay, now, how would you like me to introduce Century Plyboards? Is it a play on manufacturing? Is it a play on aspirational Indian? Or is it a big beneficiary of China Plus One?
I think the most apt way would be to say that we are a play on the housing sector in India. We're a play on the real estate boom that is taking place, and we're a play on India shining. So I think considering that we are in various product categories, plywood, laminates, MDF, particle board, all of which go into the real estate sector and the housing sector, we would be a real estate plus one play.
Change for your sector post-COVID in terms of supply chain, in terms of demand?
I think post-COVID, a number of strategic shifts have taken place. Firstly, if you look at the customer pool, if you look at the preference of the customer, that has moved more towards the branded products. So that has really helped us in terms of supply chain. I think that there was a short-term disruption that has led to a spike in the cost of certain raw materials. But long-term, it is very good for us because it has led to a lot of plantation taking place. It has led to a lot of agroforestry, and it has ensured that there will be sustainable growth over the long term. Overall, I think post-COVID, the demand for our products has been robust, and it is likely to continue to be so.
Are you a beneficiary of any supply chain readjustments? Could you be looking at, let's say, exporting plywood also? I mean, plywood is like a bulk, it's a bulk commodity. It's not easy to ship it out. But do you see the landscape changing completely in favor of Indian manufacturing, which not only will gain market share from India, but they can also start exporting?
Oh, definitely. I would say that perhaps plywood is a category which is a little different. The quality of plywood that is used in India is particularly superior compared to most other places in the world. But if you look at laminates, if you look at MDF, if you look at particle board, there is definitely a significant export play that could take place. However, having said that, I would like to reiterate, we are very bullish on the demand story within India, and we feel that going forward, the domestic market is going to offer up ample opportunities.
There is a big shift in unorganized versus organized, and branded players are gaining market share. But the way I see, at least that's my limited understanding, correct me if my judgment is wrong, that there is competition within the branded market also. The branded players themselves are becoming very large now. So there was a time when everybody has benefited because of the shift from unorganized to organized. But now organized players are fighting amongst themselves to gain more market share.
I think you're absolutely right. But, as they say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. So I think competition is always welcome. Today, we're in a state of very healthy competition. And going forward, I think, this is going to enable Indian companies to further improve their efficiencies, to further improve their processes. And if we want to become competitive on a worldwide scale, I think this was very much required. Today, you're seeing Indian companies scale up, you're seeing the size of capacities jump up, you're seeing Indian companies become more aggressive in the market. And this is going to lead, of course, to a further growth for the organized players in the domestic industry. We are going to expand the pool between the organized and the unorganized. But alongside that, in the international market, we are going to be far more competitive. So I think this competition is welcome.
All right. I just wanted to understand as well the steps that the company is taking as a whole in order to capitalize on the kind of growth opportunities given that by the government we have seen higher allocation to real estate and infrastructure. So how are you looking to really capitalize on some of these opportunities?
I think you're absolutely correct. The government has focused a lot on the real estate sector, whether it is in form of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, whether it is in the form of additional push on infrastructure, which will of course benefit the real estate and the housing sector. We are trying to take advantage of this opportunity in multiple ways. Firstly, like I've already said, we're trying to scale up. We're trying to create larger capacities. We're trying to create the manufacturing base in order to capture the additional demand that will be thrown up. Secondly, I think in terms of systems and processes, we are one of the first Indian companies to establish a Salesforce automation tool. We're one of the first Indian companies to establish a distributor management software. So I think there are a lot of tech plays that we are doing, which are leading to higher efficiency on our part. Lastly, I think in terms of branding, as has already been discussed, we are trying to pass on the message about our products to our customers in a larger way than we have ever done before. So I think all of these are small steps that we are taking towards our objective to grow faster and more sustainably going forward.
In the plywood industry, sasta sundar tikau, right? Sasta plywood, acha plywood, tikau plywood. Do you see that? No, I'm talking about in general. In India, what does well? Sasta sundar tikau. How do you see the plywood industry migrating towards more value chain now? I mean, more branded, perhaps some quality differentiation, product differentiation. Do you see that changing?
I think that statement that you made, that is the reason that plywood is not doing well, particularly in the organized players. But post-COVID, a lot has changed. I think the Sasta Sundar Tikau sort of mantra did not work for a lot of people, particularly people who faced problems during their houses at that point in time when COVID was rampant. And we weren't being able to do anything about it. Nobody was allowed into housing societies, into houses, so on and so forth. So anyone who faced a problem at that point has become a permanent customer for organized plywood or organized wood panel products. I think the narrative has changed. I think now people are realizing the importance of quality, and this seems like a trend that is likely to stay, if not to get reinforced further.
All right, good to have you on board. Thank you so much for giving us that roundup. So that's the take that we're getting in from all of the corporate voices that we interacted with on the manufacturing boom in the country, talking a lot about how there is a lot more promise and how these companies plan to capitalize on the same. But that.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.